In every office, politics decides who survives and who is erased. Do you still cling to the illusion that talent will save you? Do you believe morality protects you? Fools believe this. Talent is overrated. Morality is irrelevant. Only strategy matters. These laws are not about being liked. They're about being indispensable. Forget fair play. This is war disguised as teamwork. And in war, survival doesn't belong to the kindest soldier. It belongs to the strategist. So let's begin. Cling to the throne, or be cast into irrelevance. Do you still believe the lie that hard work speaks for itself? That if you grind long enough, someone will notice and reward you? Pathetic. That's a fairy tale for cubicle drones. In the real world, in the brutal battlefield of office politics, distance is death. Power is not abstract. It is proximity. It flows like electricity through people, through closeness, through access. Where you sit, whose ear you capture, who you are seen beside. These matter infinitely more than the brilliance of your spreadsheets. Talent might open the door, but only proximity keeps you inside. Think carefully. How many times have decisions about your future been made in rooms where you weren't even present? You grind away after hours, hoping your boss notices your dedication. Meanwhile, decisions about your career are being sealed over a casual lunch with someone else. You're invisible. And invisibility is not neutral. It is death. Machiavelli warned rulers, the first opinion a leader hears is the one that matters most. Whoever is closest to the throne doesn't just give advice. They dictate reality itself. Those who linger in the background are ghosts. They fade. They vanish. And when cuts come, they are the first to be erased. Understand this. Machiavelli would never rot in a corner office waiting to be recognized. No, he would embed himself next to power. He would whisper in the ruler's ear before anyone else had the chance. He knew then, as we must know now, power is proximity. And today, nothing has changed. Decisions are not made in emails. They're not forged in endless project trackers. They are made informally, in the hallways, over coffee, at late-night drinks, even in the gym. If you are not there, you do not exist. Picture this. 2 employees. One, a genius who hides at his desk, perfecting flawless reports. The other, a mediocre performer, but constantly visible. Coffee with the VP, laughing with directors at networking events. Always there. Which one gets promoted? The genius in exile, or the mediocre man in the right room, at the right time, whispering in the right ear? Exactly. So what would Machiavelli do in your office? He'd engineer proximity like a general designs a battlefield. He'd position himself in projects that guarantee executive oversight. He'd seize roles that demand face time with leadership. He'd infiltrate informal rituals, coffee breaks, after-work drinks, the gym. He'd never miss a chance to anchor himself near the throne. Because skill earns you a salary, but proximity earns you power. Talent whispers. Proximity shouts. Stand near the throne, or fade into silence forever. And there you have it. Your first law in strategic office politics, the law of proximity. Master this, and you stop being invisible. Stay tuned, because the next law reveals why sometimes the smartest move is to hide in the shadows until the perfect moment to strike.
Hey guys, we're Wisdom, based in Abu Dhabi. We use AI tools to make these concepts come to life, but it's our amazing team who goes deep, breaking down powerful philosophical ideas and showing how they really apply in everyday life. We hope you enjoyed today's content.
Disappear until your emergence is undeniable. Why is invisibility so powerful? Because visibility is seductive. Weaklings crave it. They want recognition. They beg for applause. They want their boss and colleagues to notice their talent. But here's the trap. Premature exposure doesn't bring power. It brings envy. It brings sabotage. And envy in the workplace is poison. Think carefully. You shine too soon, and before your foundation is solid, rivals see your light. What do? They smother it. They plot to extinguish your fire before it can become a blaze. How many times have you seen someone rise too quickly, only to be cut down just as fast? That's not failure. That's exposure before strength. Machiavelli understood this with ruthless clarity. He admired Cesare Borgia, not because he rushed, but because he never did. Borgia built power in silence, step by step. He secured allies. He erased rivals one at a time. He revealed his true strength only when he was untouchable. By then, it was too late for enemies to resist. Machiavelli himself summed it up coldly. Men should either be pampered or crushed. Reveal your power too early, and you invite crushing. Now let's translate that to your office. If you broadcast your ambition too soon, your colleagues won't cheer for you. They'll fear you, and fearful colleagues don't become allies. They become enemies. The unseen strategist, on the other hand, is underestimated, ignored, safe. And that is exactly where you want to be, until the day your results are so undeniable that no one can block you. So what would Machiavelli do in your shoes? He would lurk in the shadows. He would work in silence on high-value projects. He would allow himself to be dismissed, underestimated, even mocked. He would never brag, never announce his plans. He would reveal results only at the moment when rivals were too weak, too late, too powerless to stop him. Because in his world, and in yours, the quiet builder always outlasts the loud dreamer. Look around your own office. Who is underestimated? Who is overlooked? Ironically, they are often the safest. Why? Because the spotlight doesn't just illuminate, it exposes. And exposure without strength is suicide. So here is your formula. Work silently. Time your visibility. Strike only when resistance is impossible. Machiavelli would call this patience with teeth. Waiting, always preparing. Silent, but never idle. Power unveiled too soon is strangled. Power unveiled at the right moment is unstoppable. And there you have it, your second law in strategic office politics, the law of strategic invisibility. Master this, and you won't just survive office politics. You'll rise above it, untouched, because no one saw you coming. Serve, but never kneel. Let's strip away the illusion. You've been told loyalty is everything. Stick by your boss. Support them blindly. Sacrifice for the company, and they'll take care of you. Sounds noble, doesn't it? But in the arena of office politics, blind loyalty is not noble. It's suicidal. Understand this. Absolute loyalty is weakness. Strategic loyalty is power. Here's why. Devotion makes you replaceable. If you give everything, you own nothing. You become another servant, another shadow. And what happens to servants once their usefulness ends? They're discarded, forgotten, replaced without hesitation. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. He warned rulers to beware flatterers, calling flattery the worst of all diseases. Why? Because flatterers surrender their independence. They exist only to please, and anything that exists only to please is disposable. The wise prince kept advisors close, but never allowed them freedom, never trusted blind devotion. He valued usefulness, not servitude. If Machiavelli were in your office today, he would do the same. He would serve, yes, but never kneel. Now look at your workplace. Do you think your boss wants your soul? They don't. They want results. They want leverage. They want weapons. But if you hand over your independence, you become nothing but a leash pet, trapped, powerless, owned. So what would Machiavelli do? He'd play the role of the loyal supporter in public. He'd nod in meetings. He'd echo the leader's vision. He'd praise just enough to stay in their orbit. But privately, he'd cultivate other channels of power. He'd build relationships in other departments. He'd maintain allies in other companies. He'd weave a web of options, always loyal in appearance, never loyal in truth. This is how you must operate. Display loyalty, but never surrender freedom. Support your leader, but never idolize them. Build bridges outside your immediate chain so you're never chained to one person's downfall, because here is the truth. Usefulness creates power. Devotion destroys it. And remember this brutal line. Dogs are loyal. Strategists are useful. Never be a dog. And that is your third law in strategic office politics. The law of controlled loyalty. Master this, and you'll never be discarded like a servant. Instead, you'll be indispensable. The one no leader can afford to lose. Whisper. Never shout. Why whisper? Because in politics, and yes, in the politics of the office, shouting is suicide. Loud men make easy targets. Public confrontation may feel powerful in the moment, but it breeds rivals. It exposes your position. It paints a bullseye on your back. Whispering, however, builds influence without exposure. A quiet suggestion, a subtle framing, an idea planted in private. These don't just influence opinions, they engineer reality long before the meeting even begins. Now, think about your own behavior. Do you argue too loudly in meetings? Do you challenge colleagues head-on, desperate to prove yourself? Do you mistake winning a debate for winning power? Every time you do, you may feel victorious, but in truth, you've forged an enemy. And enemies wait. They watch. They strike when your guard is down. The louder you are, the easier you are to aim at. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. He warned rulers, avoid open contempt and hatred at all costs. He said a prince must seem merciful, faithful, humane, upright, even if he was none of these things. Why? Because appearances are whispers. They shape perception without revealing the hand behind the curtain. A clever ruler influences through illusions, not declarations. So what would Machiavelli do if he sat in your office today? He would never humiliate a rival in public. He would never shout across the table or corner a colleague in front of the boss. No, he would pull strings in silence. He would plant quiet doubts about a rival's reliability during a private conversation. He would frame his own ideas so subtly that others would believe they discovered them themselves. He would praise publicly, criticize privately, and always steer the story, but never allow a single fingerprint to betray his authorship. Look around your workplace. The strongest moves are invisible. By the time the big decision is announced, the outcome feels unanimous. Why? Because someone shaped the consensus long before the debate ever began. The public clash was theater. The real war was fought in whispers. So here's how you apply this law. Never argue in front of an audience. Sow your ideas quietly, one-on-one, until they take root. Plant doubts about rivals without ever being the source. Praise in the open, criticize only behind closed doors. Above all, control the narrative, but never be seen as the narrator. Because here is the brutal truth. The loud man creates enemies. The whisperer creates reality. And that is your fourth law in strategic office politics, the law of whisper networks. Master it, and you won't just win arguments. You'll win without anyone realizing you were even in the fight. Wait, then strike like fate itself. Here is the mistake of the week. They rush. They pitch ideas before leaders are ready to doubt the status quo. They attack rivals before those rivals overextend. They lunge forward too soon, and their moves stink of desperation. And desperation is the perfume of the doomed. In politics, and yes, in office politics, the when matters as much as the how. A premature move is suicide. A perfectly timed strike, however, doesn't look like ambition. It looks inevitable, as if no other outcome could ever exist. That is the difference between failure and triumph. Machiavelli knew this truth better than anyone. He wrote of fortuna, fortune, not as random chance, but as a force to be mastered. Fortune is like a river, he said. When it floods, it sweeps away everything. But men can build dikes and banks to control it. In other words, timing is not luck. Timing is preparation colliding with opportunity. The fool drowns in the flood, the strategist rides it to power. So what would Machiavelli do in your office today? He would never rush. He would never lunge blindly. He would watch. He would wait. He would observe when leadership shows cracks of doubt, when whispers of dissatisfaction grow, when rivals reveal their weaknesses. While others scramble, he would be in silence, sharpening weapons, constructing solutions, preparing his strike. And when the moment arrived, his move would not look like ambition, it would look like destiny. Think about your own workplace. A leader may reject your idea today, but tomorrow, after a failed quarter, after a rival stumbles, after morale collapses, that very same idea suddenly becomes salvation. The idea hasn't changed. The timing has, and timing transforms rejection into inevitability. So how do you apply this law? Observe relentlessly. Track patterns of leadership doubt and discontent. Build solutions quietly, but never reveal them. Wait until resistance is weakest and appetite for alternatives is strongest. Then unleash your move so seamlessly that people believe it was the only natural outcome all along. That is how you turn ambition into inevitability, because here is the hard truth. Move too soon and you die. Move at the right time and you cannot be stopped. And that is your fifth law in strategic office politics, the law of timing. Master this, and you won't just win. You'll make your victories look like fate itself. Nurture your enemies, but on your leash. Most fools believe power means destroying every rival, wiping the floor clean, crushing competition until nothing remains. But that is stupidity masquerading as strength. Why? Because when you annihilate every visible enemy, you grow complacent. Meanwhile, the unseen ones, the shadows sharpening their knives, prepare your downfall, and it is always the enemy you cannot see that ends you. Machiavelli knew this. He praised Cesare Borgia not for destroying all his rivals, but for crushing selectively. Borgia understood. Sparing some, leaving them weakened and dependent, preserved balance. A visible foe is manageable. A hidden one is lethal. That is the essence of controlled opposition. Now, bring this into your office. A rival you can see, one who still believes they have hope, is far safer than the one you've humiliated into silence. The humiliated enemy doesn't vanish. They burrow underground. They whisper. They recruit. And when they return not as rivals, but as assassins. But the rival you keep on a leash? They're predictable, manageable, even useful. Feed them scraps. Give them harmless projects. Let them believe they're still in the game, while in truth, they're pawns burning their energy on distractions. While leadership watches them, you maneuver elsewhere, unseen, untouched. And when the time comes for decisive triumph, you strike, not to humiliate, but to erase, permanently. Think about what you've witnessed in your own office. The colleague who wins too completely against others becomes hated, targeted, destroyed. Contrast that with the strategist who lets rivals taste small victories, who allows them to exhaust themselves in meaningless battles. One becomes a target, the other becomes untouchable. So here's how you apply this law. Never humiliate a rival entirely. Leave them a scrap of dignity, a false sense of safety. Channel their hunger into harmless projects that keep them busy and powerless. Use them as decoys, attracting scrutiny while you move in silence. Save your final crushing blow for the one moment that guarantees permanence. Because the truth is simple. Better a rival in chains than an enemy in the dark. And that is your sixth law in strategic office politics, the law of controlled opposition. Master it, and you won't just defeat rivals, you'll turn them into your tools. Always hold the keys to your escape. Here's the truth no one dares to tell you. Dependence is weakness. The less you need the office, the more the office needs you. This is exit power, the weapon that transforms you from replaceable to untouchable. Without it, you're nothing more than another trapped worker. And trapped workers are disposable. Look at yourself. Do you cling desperately to one paycheck, one boss, one title? Do you swallow humiliation, endure irrelevance, accept abuse? All because you have nowhere else to go? That's not security. That's slavery. And if you depend completely on one employer, one fortress, you are already defeated. Machiavelli warned rulers of this centuries ago. He wrote that fortresses often harm rulers more than they help. Why? Because a fortress screams fear. It signals dependence, inflexibility. The prince who locks himself inside a fortress is doomed. But the prince who builds alliances, who keeps freedom of movement, he is feared. Why? Because he can leave, pivot, strike from anywhere. True strength comes not from walls, but from options. Now bring this to your office. What is your fortress? For most, it's a single employer, a single network, a single narrow career path. They think they're safe inside it, but they are not safe. They are trapped. And the trapped are always the first to be sacrificed. True power comes from cultivating external options, skills, networks, reputations, opportunities that free you from dependence. So what would Machiavelli do if he worked beside you today? He would never gamble his future on one boss. He would maintain relationships outside his chain of command. He would make sure his skills were visible in the wider market. Publishing, networking, reminding the world that he exists beyond the walls of the office. He would quietly keep offers alive, side ventures simmering, subtle but sharp reminders that he always had another door to walk through. And without declaring it outright, he would make leadership aware that he could leave at any moment. That is exit power. Imagine two employees. One clings to their job with white-knuckled desperation, terrified of being fired. The other has offers waiting, networks thriving, skills in demand. Which one do you think leadership fears losing? Which one commands better treatment, higher pay, more respect? Exactly, the one who can walk away. So here's how you apply this law. Build relationships beyond your immediate circle. Keep your skills sharp, relevant, visible. Maintain offers, side hustles, escape routes. Subtly remind leadership that you always have choices, because here is the final truth. Options are the sharpest sword. Dependence is death, and that is your seventh law in strategic office politics, the law of exit power. Master this, and you'll never be trapped. You'll never be disposable. You will become untouchable, because the office doesn't own you. You own yourself.
Thanks for spending time with us. If this sparked a new way of thinking, hit like and subscribe to keep the ideas flowing. And don't forget, check the description for the links to the resources and the original books we used today. We'll see you in the next one.